Hey everybody, how you doing? I hope you are doing exceptionally well. All right, forget everything you think you know. Everything. Everything. I repeat, forget everything that you think you know. The whole shebang. Every friggin' thing you think you know about the Howard Terminal Project, unless, of course, you've listened to me. And I said it just like that. I mean, over the years, going back to 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. You've paid attention, not just to me here at Zennie62 YouTube, but you have read blog posts at Oakland News Now, Oakland News Now blog, Oakland News Online, and ZennieReport.com. All right? With the exception of that, okay? With the exception of that, all right, of that, forget everything, and I do mean everything you think you know. Everything. I don't know how many times I have to say everything. Okay? Everything. Because you are about to get a reformation of the project and what the project is really all about, okay? And I'm very happy that Kev F wrote what Kev F did. I could not have called it up any better if I paid him. And I didn't. Outstanding, Kev. I don't even know who Kev F is. Okay? I have no idea. I don't know who he is. Do you? I have no idea. None whatsoever. None. It's all a mystery to me who this person is. But I know one thing. He got it right in terms of the question. Thank you, Kev F. God bless you, man. Thank you. What did he do? This. You remember the title, right? Late means late, like it's too late because the A's are off to Las Vegas. Late. Oakland Howard Terminal Ballpark Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District Plan, which is really the infrastructure financing plan, includes $2.5 billion subsidy. All right. Now, to that, Kev F, because why could he write anything else? Didn't talk, but I did write the information down there. Okay. Las Vegas issued, he writes, $380 million in public financing. Well, yeah, but let's not get cute. Let's get accurate. $120 million in bond issue. $180 million, a little around that, for tax credits, optional. In other words, the A's could choose not to use those. Maybe they, run into an ultra rich dude around the world or dudess and they say, hey, I'll cover that. Boom. But you pay the 120, right? You never know. Okay. Anyway. Or, hey, it could have come through from another source, but I don't want to get bogged down in that right now. At any rate, Kev F writes, Las Vegas issued $380 million of public financing. Oakland secured, he says, $376 million of grants and would issue $510 million in bonds for project tax increment. Really? So you've been, eating the mayor's Okay. All right. On paper, it appears there's more money available in Oakland. First of all, let's get one thing straight. This is a plan that was issued after the fact, but could it be done? The answer is yeah. This plan was released April of last year. This is 2024. It was released by Century Urban really through The Athletic last year. Yeah, The Athletic posted this. You hear me? The Athletic posted this in its database. I found it in a serendipitous search. And I thought, what is this? And I read it and I thought, wow, it's a draft plan for infrastructure financing, which is a major document that the city appointed staff of any city or county in California has to write as a prelude to creating an enhanced infrastructure financing district. For what reason? To use tax increment financing. That's the way you have to do it today. Some call it the son of redevelopment law, which was killed by then California Governor Jerry Brown in 2011, thanks to the California Supreme Court. Bad thing to do. But they did it. And Jerry did it too. Used redevelopment money for Oakland. And then once he did it for his own political purposes, made sure it was tossed so it wouldn't be used by anybody else. Shame. At any rate, that's what happened. Okay? So, Kev, it's more than that. Why do I say that? Because here is page 9 of the actual 72-page document Century Urban released. You know the picture that I have that's the thumbnail for this? Did you notice those two panels on the right? Do you know what they are? They're the words that introduce the document, page 9 of which I'm showing to you right now. And not only that, I need, as I look at it, to do what? I need to make it a little bit bigger. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit the plus sign, and there it is. And I'm going to move this over and center it so that you can see it even better. All right, even better. Okay. All right. So remember what Kev F wrote? Okay, so what does this read? It reads off-site public infrastructure. Now remember how Mayor Chow was saying that the A's kept moving the subsidy cost up, right? Remember that? She said that, okay? She said that, all right? She said that, okay? She said that, all right? She said that, okay? She said, not so golden after all. She said, Mayor Tao said, that the A's came up with and kept changing the off-site infrastructure ask. This document, these words I'm about to read to you, that right before you prove that she's not telling the truth, y'all. All right, why? Listen to this. The city, not the developer, but the city estimates that the off-site public infrastructure will cost approximately $482 million in 2023 dollars. The city of Oakland, of course, not the A's, anticipates commencing construction of the off-site public infrastructure in 2026 and is assuming that the $482 million cost in 2023 dollars will grow by 6% in each of the calendar years, 2023, 2024, and 2025, resulting in total costs of $573.5 million in 2026. The city has identified the following capital sources to pay for off-site public infrastructure. All right. So there they are, and they say that's the funding amount. All right. So all of this is the city, not the A's. But then it gets better. And here is where we get into the actual funding amounts. And let me say something about the inflation aspect of this, okay? If you expect that amount to be that. All right. Okay. Then the question is, all right, here's why it's a little bit of a ridiculous estimate. It's because, look, you do these calculations for the time that you think you're going to get the proceeds. You don't say, well, gee, I'm going to get the proceeds next year. But I know that 5 years from now, the rate of inflation is going to cause the cost to go up. Look at me. Look at my face. As if they're waiting the next 5 years before they spend the money. That's stupid. Okay? They're not going to wait 5 years to spend the money. When you issue a bond, you structure them so that you would get the proceeds so that you can start immediately. You don't hold the proceeds unless, of course, you're going to hold them and have them increase in interest for another 5 years. So why in the frickety frick would they do that calculation anyway? It's stupid. All right? Because I could turn around and say, well, wait a minute, why don't you just wait and let the tax increment grow? Because guess what the average rate of growth in tax increment, in assessed value down at Jack London Square, Howard Terminal, it has been 6.3%. So it's about equal, actually a little bit ahead for the revenue side, okay? So the whole thing turns out to be a wash anyway. So I'm thinking, some people do these numbers, but they don't understand the dynamics. Century Urban is one of them. And that's why I had this huge on-the-field argument with Lauren Taylor when he was council member in the middle of the hearing featuring the City of Oakland giving this presentation to the Alameda County Board of Supervisors. The first one back in, it was July of 2021, the date 20th day. It was a long one. I have it here in Zennie62 YouTube. If you watched it, you remember that, among other things, the then project manager, Molly Mabern, told the city council and the board of supervisors that the net redevelopment revenue was going to be $400 million. I said, it's not $400 million. It's not $400 million. I said it's far greater than that. It's $1,600,000,000 if you use just the ballpark and event center, equaling $2 billion of assessed value, and then increased over a 45-year period at a rate of 4%. Okay, because that's the estimate. I was safe in going with a conservative one in terms of the rate of growth and assessed value. Okay. I told Lauren he was wrong. I told Lauren she was wrong. He says, well, she's the consultant. I said, Lauren, I've done this for 37 years, okay? She's wrong. Anyway, okay. So, okay. All right. So, get this. All right. Get this. All right, get this. Get this. Get this. Totally wrong, okay? Let's have some more fun with the document. So I've already read that part to you, right? Now let's talk about the tax increment revenue itself. All right, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the meat, since there are people who are so willing to look at what the mayor put out without checking and just quote her as if she's right and she's not. I mean, critical thinking around this just went right out the door, man, except for me. Okay. And I say that, itching for a fight because I don't care. All right. The city's future is in the balance here. It really is. Okay. So now, we are going to take a look at, first of all, right back here in this infrastructure financing plan, where it is written here. And increment. All right. First of all, they have the, I'm not sure how to do this before I read it to you. Now I'm going to show it to you. Make sure that's properly lined up so that you can see it. And it is, and now there. All right. Happy belated Father's Day, everybody. Thank you. EIFD says here now, page 52, page 3 of 52. I'm sorry. I said 72 pages, 52 pages. This infrastructure financing plan. Let me see if I can move it over. It's a little off still center, right? It's not letting me move it much. Let me reduce it a little bit right there. So yeah, there we go. That's better. Okay. This infrastructure financing plan, IFP, has been prepared at the direction of the Public Financing Authority of the Oakland Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District. Now here's the catch. The Public Financing Authority was never formed. This is draft. This has got a big letters in gray written draft. Anyway, at the direction of the Public Financing Authority, PFA, of the Oakland Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District, Waterfront Ballpark District at Howard Terminal, the EIFD under Chapter 2.999 of Part 1 of Division 2 of Title 5 of the California Government Code. The EIFD will consist of several project areas, actually 17, each a project area and a collectively of project areas, each of which represents one or more separate development blocks. And there they are. Okay. Now, the first one is Block 1, which is the ballpark. Block 2 and Block 3, Block 4. Block 2 and 3, I believe, are the event center. 4, 5, and 6 are basically for future development. All right. And then it goes on to read, project tax increment as defined here and generated by property in this project area, a portion thereof will be allocated to the Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District only if the project area or the applicable a portion thereof has been incorporated into the development agreement. That's pro forma. And then it go on to say that the Public Financing Authority may amend this IFP from time to time. Okay, cool. All right. Now let's go on. And it goes on to explain the Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District's sole purpose is to provide financing for public facilities and other other projects authorized under the Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District law, which really starts with SB 628BL in connection with the development of the Waterfront Ballpark District. But it really refers to, and they should write, SB 293 Skinner, because SB 293 Skinner was written specifically for Howard Terminal and gave life to this document. All right. So again, Century Urban screwed up, but whatever. Continuing. Okay. It says that the Waterfront Ballpark District project is located on approximately 55 acres. You know all that. Then it talks about the requirements of the IFP. I'm going to not read you a lot of this because it's basically not something you need to know for this part of our discussion. All right. Then there's the legal description of the map. In fact, basically, I'll read it to you and say, okay, well, a lot of that makes sense, and a lot of it we know. Then it talks about future private development, and it reads, and I want you to understand this: the Waterfront Ballpark District is being developed by the Athletics Investment Group (LLC), doing business as the Oakland Athletics, the Waterfront Ballpark District project developer, as it will be called, and will include a new open-air waterfront multi-purpose baseball stadium for baseball games to be played by the Oakland Athletics Major League Baseball Club, concerts, and special events. In addition, the Waterfront Ballpark District may include up to 3,000, not shall. And you want to know why I make that distinction, folks? I make that distinction simply because, and it's a very, very, very important reason, I make that distinction because a number of council members, including my friend Rebecca Kaplan, who's our current at-large council member, have said, oh, we're supposed to build all this at once, but in Las Vegas, they're just building a ballpark. And I kept saying, stop saying that, because it's not true. The simple line that I just read to you proves that it's not true. by the use of may, not shall, but it provides an option and goes right in line with what A's president Dave Cobble told me a number of times on interviews right here at Zennie62 YouTube, that they were happy to work with a developer to help them finance this entire project. All those other parcels were for other developers to build on, not necessarily Coliseum, John Fisher and Company, excuse me, all right? Working at representing the athletics. That's either forgotten, not known, or known by some media types, but they conveniently leave it out to fool you, okay? So let's continue here, all right? And it reads, okay? The Waterfront Ballpark District. And by the way, this is going to be in a nice script document for you too. So don't have no fear. Zennie is here. All right. So at any rate, as I read to you, 270,000 square feet of retail space, 400 hotel rooms, a 3,500 seat performing arts center, and approximately 18 acres of publicly accessible parks and open space, in addition to the 3,000 residential units and 1.5 million square feet of commercial space, okay? And here's the proposed development program, which is in phased, okay? So it reads the type of development and number of residential units and square footage of retail commercial space set forth in Table 2 are based on current projections provided by the Waterfront Ballpark District project developer, the A's. Actual development may and will likely vary. Nothing in this IFP shall limit the ability of the Waterfront Ballpark District developer to revise the scope and timing of the Waterfront Ballpark District project, and any change in the nature of the Waterfront Ballpark District will not require an amendment of this infrastructure financing plan, or IFP. Okay, so we continue. I'm going to skip over this and skip over that, and the use of the tax increment is, not the most important issue right now, because we're talking about amounts. And once I read it to you anyway, you're going to say, oh, I know that. All right. Then it's priority uses of available project tax increment. And that's to provide a share portion of cost of the infrastructure, the enhanced infrastructure financing district, because you need someone to run it, right? To pay debt service on bonds. Those are the primary two. And there's finance acquisition price of on-site public infrastructure and parks and open space, and to finance the eligible on-site affordable housing costs, and to finance the acquisition price of off-site public infrastructure. And the acquisition price of on-site public infrastructure and parks and open space improvements may be paid to the Waterfront Ballpark District project developer, the A's, or other horizontal developers that are assignees of the Waterfront Ballpark District developer under the Port DDA, due diligence development agreement, transferees under the development agreement, and the project infrastructure financing authority, okay, or the public financing authority, okay? So, total cost of the Waterfront Ballpark District project and related improvements. The Waterfront Ballpark District project developer, this is for the on-site, estimates the total cost of the Waterfront Ballpark District project will be $6.7 billion in 2023 dollars. This amount includes $5.7 billion for the private elements of the project, including the proposed ballpark baseball stadium, $369 million for on-site public infrastructure and parks and open space improvements, $50 million for greenhouse gas mitigation measures, $482 million for off-site public infrastructure, which is estimated by the city, $41 million of eligible on-site affordable housing costs, and $50 million for off-site affordable housing costs. Funding sources for Waterfront Ballpark District project. All right, then it goes down. And here's where it gets neat. All right, okay, all right, okay. And here's where I think my friend Kev got screwed up. He right, it's right. It says it right here. The EIFD is projected to use project tax increment on the pay-as-you-go basis and to issue bonds or other debt that is payable from project tax increment to finance approximately $510 million in costs of public capital facilities and other projects authorized by EIFD law, this amount does not include an additional cost contingency. As used in this IFP, finance includes not only paying debt service on bonds and other debt of the EIFD, but also using project tax increment on a pay-as-you-go basis for eligible expenses. Private elements of the project. It says that will cost $5.7 billion. Then it goes to on-site public infrastructure, parks, and open space improvements, and that's $369 million. And that is calculated by the Waterfront Ballpark District project developer. That's the ACE, all right? Greenhouse gas at $50 million. And then offsite, the city of Oakland estimates that the offsite public infrastructure will cost approximately $482 million in 2023 dollars. The city anticipates commencing construction of the offsite public infrastructure in 2026 and is assuming that the $482 million cost in 2023 dollars will go by 6%. Now note, at this point, we haven't talked at all about the tax increment revenue that's available, okay? All right, we're still talking about funding sources and uses, okay? But we're talking more about the funding uses, not the total tax increment revenue. We get into estimate costs more. So let's continue as we scroll down and we get to see if it says draft, okay? And I'll make sure that you're seeing this and I haven't accidentally frozen you out here. And I haven't, okay, good. Because I'm getting into the weeds of this thing, and I don't want to get lost. This is findings of community-wide significance. This is boilerplate. Remember, this is a plan. This is a draft that the state of California, the Board of Equalization, is going to have to approve. So there's some board. Then it says financing. All right, introduction there. All right, and it talks about the EIFD law, net available revenue, distributions for redevelopment tax, and everything else. And then it talks about the base year assessed value as a prelude to calculating the the allocation of the tax increment. All right. And it talks about the current distribution. I'm not going to get into that. It's not necessary for where we're going right now. It's merely it's a build up to the show. Okay. And commencement of allocation of property tax, maximum portion of increment revenue dedicated to the EIFD. All right. Now, here we go. County and city property tax increment is projected to total approximately $1.8 billion across all project areas over the total 45-year period. All right. So the city VLF is projected to total $336 million, and the county's for $343 million over the same period. Okay. So there you go. That's again coming from here, and they talk about in the breakdown here the property tax increment, and it's very important to include what the allocation, or remember the allocation numbers here, because the allocation numbers determine the city's shares. VLF is the property tax in lieu of vehicle licensing fees. That's what VLF is, and that's so they're using vehicle licensing fees, and they're using that as an increment revenue source. That's done generally for tax with sales taxes, and at least it was in the past. Now they're using vehicle license fees. So you're wondering where the VLF came from? That's what that is. All right. So let's go back now, and so we go back down to the fiscal year revenue projections for Project Area 1. I don't want to make sure I made sure that you saw, again, this, okay? The city anticipates, right here, this is what I'm reading now. See that? The city anticipates allocating net available revenue to the Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District through approximately fiscal year 2039 to 2040 based on the expected duration of the life. This is the project itself. In other words, 45 years. After deducting the Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District's estimated allocable share of redevelopment agency obligations, which includes existing debt service, that's not a lot, folks, required pass-throughs, and administrative costs, approximately, get this, $2.5 billion of net available revenue is projected to be allocated to the EIFD over the terms of the project areas. All right? And there's your number. $2,500,000,000. And before that, it was $1.8 billion. In other words, it was the same number, actually 200 million more than what I told Lauren Taylor back in 2021 in November during the county city meetings when he told me I was wrong. And the TIF revenue, he said, was 400 million. Okay? No. All right? No. Okay? No. Not so golden after all says, Oakland could have $1 billion on a silver platter. Your money is no good. Here's Fisher's stance. No, that's not true. Fisher culturally and politically does not jive with Oakland. What that means, your interpretation. No, it doesn't. All this means is that you don't know the timeline of events and when they occurred. I'm telling you again, the A's decided to leave Oakland November of 2021 when they went purchasing land first over by the festival grounds where they purchased that option, and they ran around other parts of town basically laying eggs, stating their interest in acquiring property. When you don't do that unless you're going to move. See, we as a city don't get the message. The Raiders started doing it, and we didn't take it seriously then. I told Drew McKnight of Fortress Investments, who was partnered with the city, the investment bankers, I told him in his office in San Francisco, what we ought to do is estimate which lands are best, and we should buy them ahead of Clark County so that we close off the Raiders' ability to have lands to consider a stadium to build. That would shut the whole thing off right there. That's how I play the game, all right? You take your money, you go and buy them. Once the Raiders have decided to stay here and everything else, we start selling our property, and close up shop and go to work on building a Raiders stadium in Oakland. But you don't if you know your economic development, you don't let a city do to you what Las Vegas did to us twice. And that's why the second time I said, you know what? Las Vegas is going to win because we haven't learned jack. We didn't debrief. I said to Libby, we should debrief. Libby focused on running for mayor again for Oakland, won in 2018, which emboldened her to continue the mistakes she made before and pour some sugar on me, poured them all over the A's situation. And then Shang just took up the bat and tried to swing and missed a number of times, but she didn't want you to know that. She'd rather swing her bat behind closed doors where everybody was seeing her miss and have you think she was hitting home runs all the time. Unless, of course, you knew what to look for. No. Okay? Oakland has got to stop this behavior. This CYA, I'm going to make sure that my end of the deal looks good, literally at the expense of the city. But it's okay to have A's fans believe that we did everything that we could because you know what? That saves me as a politician. That makes me look good for whatever I want to do in the future because I know you have my back because you believed my story. Okay? So all that yapping you guys are doing about John Fisher is just helping him out. That's why I stopped doing it. That's why I never did it. I've got nothing against the A's, but having worked for the city, having experienced this sort of stuff since I was trying to bring the Super Bowl to Oakland in 1999 through 2001, I've seen enough. And we've been personally affected by it. And you know you can do the job better. As someone said to me, you're mad because they didn't hire you. And I'm going to say this again. You're damn right. Because I'm the one who could have saved it. I don't care if you don't like hearing it. It's too freaking bad. Okay? Now, continuing. All right? Continuing. Thanks for addressing my comment. I'm just Days fan trying to figure out. I appreciate that, Kev. But you know what, Kev? It was a good question. All right? And I'm giving you major props because a lot of you all are really smart. That's what bothers me. A lot of you are, in a lot of cases, wickedly smart. But here's the thing. You all and I have a number of things in common. One of them is we're showing how upset we are about the A situation in different ways. But the bottom line is we are upset about it. Me, I resigned myself to where we are now. And early on, years before the rest of you all did, and I broadcasted it. And I kept broadcasting it. You all were basically buying what the city was selling. I was like, forget it. I've seen this before. I lived it. Okay. I tried to overcome it when I came to within 8 NFL votes of bringing the 2005 Super Bowl that wound up in Jacksonville, Oakland. And do you realize that after the league said that we didn't have enough hotel rooms, and I managed to get 15,000 hotel rooms committed to us by the San Mateo County Convention and Visitors Bureau, that it turned out that Jacksonville had lied to the NFL, and the NFL threatened to take the Super Bowl, 2005 Super Bowl away from Jacksonville. I called Jim Steig and I said, hey, give it to us. Give it to us. It was, we'll see. That didn't happen. But the bottom line is, I don't care what anybody says. Oakland, Monty Poole said it. He wrote it before. 2005 Super Bowl should have been in Oakland. That was mine. I don't care how anybody feels about it. That's a damn fact. All right. So, oh, and by the way, you show me somebody else that did what I did for Oakland. Show me one other person that formed a bid to bring the Super Bowl to Oakland, in particular facing the odds that I did. One. Go and look. You want to know why? I'll give you one. I'll save you the work. I'm the only person in history to have done it. So, okay. All right. So, pro sports belongs in entertainment cities. Oakland could be an entertainment city. Don't want to hear it. You build. You want something, you build. Don't talk to me about that. These things aren't written in stone. Don't talk to me about that. All right. Now, going back to where we were. Ding. Okay. Here we are. Okay. You've seen it right here. All right. $2.5 billion of net available revenue is projected to be allocated to the Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District over the terms of the project areas. Table 4 provides an annual estimate of the project tax increment to be allocated to the EIFD by project area. It's a long list, folks. I'm not going to take you through it one by one, but that's project area 1. This goes from 1 all the way down to 17. Okay? All the way down to 17, okay? Reoccurring City of Oakland expenditures of general government, police services, all right? County expenditures, all right, all that. But the bottom line is you saw the deal. You saw the golden goose. And the golden goose is $2.5 billion of net available revenue is projected to be allocated to the EIFD over the terms of the project areas. Okay? Now, there's nothing that says that can be bundled into a bond issue. Nothing. All right? Beyond the $510 million. For me, I'd say, hey, you know what? Given the costs, let's just do and we know there's going to be $2,500,000,000, then size a bond issue of $1.4 billion. Let's just get this thing out, this thing done. All right. Well, actually, let's think about it. If we sized it, the bond cost is 1.516. So in other words, it's whatever your projected proceeds are times 1.156 is the total bond cost, assuming a 6% rate of interest. All right. So bottom line is, if I need $1 billion, then that means that my bond is going to cost me 1.516 billion. So there you go. So let's say, okay, let's size it for $1 billion in proceeds rather than subsidy. All right. Direct up front. Now the total subsidy is at $2 billion. It says $2 billion of available net revenue to be allocated to the EIFD over the terms of the project areas. If you're concerned about inflation, get most of that up front. If you know you're going to get $2,500,000,000, okay, and you know that, and you say, hey, look, I need $1 billion, and you know you can cover $1.5 billion, and you know that your revenue is going to be 1.5 billion over your proceeds. Well, excuse me, it's going to be another $1 billion over your total bond cost. Then you do $1 billion, or maybe even better, you say, hey, look, maybe I back it up. I'll say 800 million. I'll say $800 million bond issue rather than $1 billion. 800 million, because then I have 800 million, and 800 million, 8 times 2 is 1.6. And so I'm looking at 1.51 billion. Okay, so $750 million bond issue. So you do a $750 million bond issue straight out. That's twice your debt coverage. That gives you a 2 times debt coverage ratio. So that's what you should be looking at. You have a 2 times debt coverage ratio. Yeah, you have a 2 times debt coverage ratio for a bond that yields proceeds of $750 million, which sounds like the Raiders bond, doesn't it? Except that was paid for by hotel taxes. All right. So there you go. But my point is, there you are. Ta-da. All right. Ta-da. Okay. All right. Mark Thompson, he says, Las Vegas presents a more attractive offer with significant financial incentives, including public funding for a new stadium. The state of Nevada and the city of Las Vegas are able to mobilize. Yeah. But see, what this proves, though, is we really could do it, but we didn't have the will and the initiative to close the deal. That's the point that I've been trying to make all along, okay? It's a sad point. That we didn't have the will. Oakland lacked the will and the initiative to complete big projects. This should erase any talk that we couldn't do it. We could. It's on paper. It's on paper, folks. And we can still do this for, hey, another project. Those of you out there are saying, hey, look, you don't want to fund billionaires and all this. Take the billionaires out of your thoughts. The simple fact of the matter is large developments throw off huge, if they're privately owned, tax increment financing revenues that you can use for such things as affordable housing, or better yet, how about programs to give to local residents who really need the money to stay in their homes and places? How about that? Why do I say it that way? Because focusing on just affordable housing to stop the homeless problem is a joke. It takes years to develop housing. You have all these people waiting for hope when their needs are right now. That is so wrong. And it's so wrong that elected officials are doing that to poor people. It's disgusting. Give them the money so they can pay their rent now. Period. All right. Mark says Oakland also needs a better mayor and get things done. No, we need, you know what? I'm not going to blame. Here's the thing. It's not just the mayor. You know why I say that? As important as the mayors are, I agree with you. But it's our system of over politicization. So you even added to it. You said we need a better mayor. That's politics. We need better staff. All right? We need a system. We need an adjusted system, I think, where it's harder to fire the city administrator. Instead of the city administrator serving at the will of the mayor, it should take 3 council votes. Okay, maybe 4. Not 5, but I'm saying that you want some assurances of sticking power. Because once you have that built-in certainty that staff will be there for a while and can work on long-term projects, the markets will respond better. Our current government system is so willy-nilly, it gives, and it should give anybody in public financing the willies. Because you don't know if somebody might turn around and say, well, I'm the council member now, and oh, by the way, I got Oakland residents, but really the people you paid, to storm the city council and threaten the other council members, and now I'm in charge. That could happen. Okay, that could happen. You think January 6th was bad? We had one Oakland session about 10 years ago, 10 or 12, that looked like it was it made it look like Oakland was headed in that direction. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody saw that and said, oh, hey, Mr. Trump, I saw they did this thing in Oakland. Maybe we ought to try it. All right? You want to tell me that can't happen again? Okay? But when the city manager is in charge, when the city manager has some say, sure, the mayor can pick the city administrator, as we call him now. But what if the mayor goes off on a bender and gets upset? Maybe the mayor has problems with a significant other. You never know, and all of a sudden just is off with that person's head. That's the environment that we have today, where that can happen. Do you want that to continue? I don't. We need to tighten this stuff up. We need to, if we want a better city. We're not going to get a better city under this system. You're going to be waiting for the right people to come along again and again and again and again and again. All right? Again and again and again and again and again. I mean, that's a fact. Okay? I'm not saying we don't need a recall election. We do, only to get our current mayor in line. But what is that going to cause? Because you push Shang into a corner, as she's being pushed into a corner now, you don't know what she's going to come out and do. Seriously. And it may not be in the best interest of the city. It'll be in her interest. All right? So my point is, the real answer is we need to change our system of government. We really do. Okay? That's the answer. Because I don't care what anybody says. You got to convince NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell as Oakland, you can get it done. Because Roger's had a lot of personal experience with Oakland going back to me when I was in the room at the head of the table at the old NFL headquarters offices for our presentation to Paul Tagliabue, who was sitting next to me. Okay? Jerry's chair over here was empty because Jerry showed up 20 minutes late. And Commissioner Tagliabue was fuming. And Roger Goodell, where was he? He was executive vice president of football operations, sitting right over there next to Derek Higgins, who was the head of legal, and Jennifer Gonzalez and Sue Robachek on that side. Okay? On this side was the Oakland table. All right? Scott McKibben saved our meeting because Jerry came in with 20 minutes, later and left with an hour on the clock. So I got Paul over here. All right. Okay. So, Seriously? Okay. This is our history, folks. And then you wonder why I act the way that I do. I live this stuff. I live this stuff, all right? Personally impacted me. Okay? And I haven't forgot any of it. For those of you who think, well, he's 61, he can't possibly remember. There is a reason why a number of people say that people in my age bracket, like Andrew McCarthy and Tom Cruise and others, are the last great generation. We get shit done. Don't forget it, okay? We do. All you guys just sit around talking. If you do something, you do it on a personal level that makes you a ton of money, but basically winds up screwing the world. Come on, you do better than that. I hope. I mean, wow. Wow. Okay. So, it's into the ringer with this stuff. I love my city. And here's the deal. Okay. When I was talking to you, I believe by AASG, right? I think he said, do I have that? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Hold on a second. Because Roger has said to me as far back as 9 years ago, I've done video. NFL commissioner says Goodell says Oakland must find long-term stadium solution. So he's not keen to go through that, again and again and again. All right. He's not. Okay, maybe he's around until 2026. I'll bet longer, but nobody wants to go through that again and again and again. I'm just trying to find something here real quick. Hold on a second. I was trying to find this. Let's see here. Because I told him, I was trying to find where I told him. I think I played it before, but Roger looked at me and he gave one response. He was like a chuckle, okay, and that was it. He literally laughed at my question. Okay, he really did. And the question was, do I think what I think about what he's heard about AASCG, and I told Ray Bobbitt about it. Okay, I wasn't hiding anything at all. If you want to know where that was, by the way, hold on a second. It was the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell press conference of the 2022 NFL Spring League meeting. And let me get that here. If I can grab that up, you can go and find it at your leisure. So I'm not, wasting your time looking for this thing, but it's because it's 22 minutes. All right. But that's it right there. Let me get rid of this. Sorry, Mark. Okay. Right there. And let me just see what I can get here. Right there.
We're building one. We're not going to get any specifics of where the bids are or any specific elements of those bids, but I would say, and I made this point today, that the cooperation and communication has been very good between the Broncos and our staff, as well as the representatives of the Broncos. So,
this is here in Atlanta.
It's moving forward, and when they get to completion, we'll know that, and then we'll start our process.
Ian Rappaport. Two questions. First of all, is there any update on the Miami Dolphins investigation of Stephen Ross with the allegations of attempting for driving towards the person? That's my question.
There is not any update on that. Obviously, Mary Jo White is working on that, and when she completes that, she will certainly update us, and then we'll move from there.
And then this is an actual second question. The combine staying in Indy was it close at all? Was it obvious? What went into that?
Let me start from back here.
I think.
Let me start from back here. You all right? I thought for sure I broke this part out. I was waiting for these guys to come in. I think McCarthy comes in at some point.
Okay, Commissioner Goodell will be here momentarily.
Yeah.
And we get, I got brief remarks, and then we do have handheld mics. You can wait and we'll get to momentarily.
Yeah, here comes Roger. Let's see. Old time's sake. Old time's sake.
Yes. Okay. I think you all have had a lot of updates on the meetings. Obviously, I think the most.
Okay, so he starts there. This is long. So let me do this. Let me see if I can go here.
Program. Again, I think you've had completed. And the second was not to allow head coach to be hired until after the wildfire meetings. So I think those are the two most significant there.
Roger, could you give us an update on where the Deshaun Watson investigation stands?
And how we're thinking about how we create that into a celebration of our players rather than a football team. I think that's covers most of it.
Is that a, oh, don't give you a conclusion.
And we'll see when we get some facts.
On the matter of minority hiring, there's also minority ownership. And you have Byron Allen, who's interested in owning the Broncos, and in Oakland, the group that has the E&A on the Coliseum that wants to bring the NFL back to Oakland. How close are you? How close are we to getting minority ownership? Because in the case of Oakland, Loop Capital, they have $3 billion lined up already. So how close are we to getting? But did you notice that Roger was laughing? Okay, just saying. Minority ownership in the NFL, from your estimation, where are we?
Well, Zennie, I think you know, we passed a resolution with the point and the principle that we want anyone bidding on a franchise to consider minority ownership. The good news is in the Broncos case, we had several, and that was a very positive development. We'll see how it ends up.
So we know how it turned out. The Waltons, came out of that one, right? Okay. So point I'm making though is that you heard Roger. You saw there's a part of that didn't really come through on the mic because of the overlap. Not my fault, just technical. But he went when I mentioned what AESCG was intending. All right, that's the hurdle for us. We have to prove to the NFL that everything that's going on here is viable. Because some of you watching this, I don't believe are even paying attention, but it was Eric Grubman. When he was NFL executive vice president for NFL properties, for business interests, who said, and I have the video, that Oakland has not submitted a viable plan. Viable. All right? He said that at the Chicago Schaumburg, Illinois NFL owners special meeting regarding the Rams and Chargers project, okay, and relocation. And that was like driving a stake through our collective heart. From a public relations standpoint, it was damaging. And what's going on with the Athletics just drove the stake further in. Okay. So it's not that we're not capable of being Oakland, of being an events entertainment city. We just act like we want to be. This is a matter of building. And this, again, I said it before and I'll say it again, having the will and initiative to complete big projects. And what I just showed you is that we had the ability to do it, but we didn't have the will or the initiative to do it in a timely fashion. The one problem that has plagued my history in trying to do something for the city that I love, Oakland, going all the way back to when Elihu hired me as economic advisor. And really before that, when I was columnist for the Montclarian, after having worked as intern for the city and developed the area redevelopment economic model, and then wrote the memo that led to a chain of events which caused the construction of the Emeryville Best Buy and related land uses that you probably used to shop at. Yeah, it's my project. So I've had my fill of my city failing. I've heard enough. All right. Live long and prosper, everybody. I'll see you later. Thanks. That ends the string.